baby's asking for it. Don't shake a baby. What if I can't find my car keys and I've looked everywhere? Yeah, even then. I went on to www.don'tshakeababy.com, and they have links to similar websites. They have a link to www.don'tstickyourdickinaToaster.com, and they have a link to www.don'tshoveaferretinyourass.com. And there's a lot of reasons why you don't want a ferret in your ass, because they're not like gerbils. They've got fangs and claws and a lot of shit you don't need in your ass, man. I got a ferret in my ass right now. I was at the hotel on the toilet a while ago, and he popped his head out of my butt, started washing his face in that little oscillating stream of water. Is that cake? No! Certainly not cake. I got a little trouble. Did you guys hear anything about that? I'll tell you what happened. I had 2 sold-out shows in Fort Pierce, Florida, and we were going to land in Vero Beach, Florida, and I have an airplane that you guys bought me. Thank you. It's nice. It is really cool. And we land at Vero Beach, and when we land, I look out the window, and there's 3 cops standing there, and which is no big deal to me because cops love me, and so do firemen. And a lot of times I'll get a police escort from the airport to the venue, and this wasn't one of those times. I got out of the plane, and there was a cop there, and he said, "Mr. Wyatt, we've been told that there are drugs on this plane by an anonymous tip." And I said, "There are absolutely no drugs on that plane." Now, I did have a little bit of weed in my bag, but I wasn't on the plane, so technically I'm not lying to this guy. And, he goes, "Well, do you mind if we search the aircraft?" And I said, "You absolutely cannot search this aircraft unless you have probable cause, because I still have civil liberties." You know what I mean? I do. And they said, "Okay, well, we just want the drug dog to walk by it a couple times." And I said, "Fine." And the drug dog walks by a couple times, and the guy goes, "Well, the dog gave us a signal that there are drugs on the plane." And I'm like, "No, he didn't. That dog didn't do anything. I was staring straight at him. He didn't wink, blink, oof a paw. What's his signal, a blank stare?" That's all he did. Because the dog says there's drugs on the plane. I'm like, "Well, I said there wasn't drugs on the plane. Who are you going to believe, me or the..." Fuck, never mind, you know? Now, I've got a show to go to. They spend an hour and a half going through this plane. An hour and a half, and I'm just sitting there going, "Oh, come on." And they get finished. Of course, there is no drugs on the plane, and I knew there wasn't. And I assume now they're going to let me go, and I'll go do my show. And I was like, "Well, that's fine, whatever." And then they go, "Well, now the dog needs to sniff that bag on your shoulder." And I was like, "Ruh-roh." They found 7/8 of a gram of marijuana in my bag. Now, when I have 7/8 of a gram of marijuana, I consider myself to be out of marijuana. That is no weed. And it's medical marijuana. It was prescribed to me by a doctor in California where I live. And I told the cop that, and he said, "Well, what did you tell a doctor to get a prescription for marijuana?" And I said, "Well, the doctor said, 'Do you have any symptoms that marijuana helps alleviate?' And I said, 'Well, I get bummed when I run out of weed.' Marijuana cures that." They handcuffed me and put me in the back of a cop car. and took me to jail. Now, I'm not whining about that. I broke the law. That's fine. But fuck, this is Florida. These cops drove by 3 meth labs and a dead hooker just to get there. They processed me through county jail. Now, for whatever reason, I had a bunch of cash on me. I'd been on the road for a while. And now they got to count it in front of me. And this guy comes over and he goes, hey, man, I'm going to have to count that money and you're going to have to watch. And I'm like, fuck, not you. Fuck, no. This money's in banded $5,000 stacks. And he picks one of them up and he goes, 1 Mississippi. He didn't really say Mississippi, but he fucking could have. 2 Mississippi. And I go, you can't do it that way. It'll take forever. Just take the band off and start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you get to 50, that's 5,000. Then just start the next stack. And he goes, that's a good idea. That's what he said. So he counts the second stack and he goes, hey, buddy, wait a minute. There's only 42 in this one. I said, oh, that's okay. Just get 8 more out of this one. Put it in this one. Now you have 2 stacks of 50. That's $10,000. I'm teaching this motherfucker how to count. I was in jail for an hour and a half, and I don't know how word gets out so fast, but when I walk out of the jail, there's a big truckload of kids, and they have these signs that say, free Tater. I've had the weirdest things happen lately. I just going to fly from LAX to Atlanta to see some lawyers and a dentist, the combination platter of wonderful days. And my plane was broken, and when my plane's broken, my friends do not give a shit. They're like, oh, poor baby. Is your plane broken? You have to take a commercial flight like every fucking buddy else. But it's not like it used to be, or either that or I'm losing touch, you know, because I'm standing in line, I got a first-class ticket, and I get up to the front of the line, and there isn't anybody there. It's just a kiosk with a computer terminal, and I'm not good at computers, and I don't want to touch this thing because it's got grease and dirt, and what I can only pray to Jesus is meringue. But it works pretty good, you know. I swipe my card through there, and up pops a diagram of the aircraft, and it shows all the seats on the plane. And it shows which ones are occupied so you can choose your own seat. And that is almost a great idea. What would make that a great idea is if there was a photograph of the person sitting in that chair. And about a 5-minute bio clip telling you a little bit about them and what their breath smells like. Right, because I picked my seat and I'm in first class, so as soon as I walk into the cabin, I can see my chair, and sitting right next to me is a big fat fuck. Now I know I'm heavy, but I'm not a big fat fuck. This guy was a big fat fuck, and part of him is in my chair. And I don't know if it's part of him I can sit on. Hey, I've got a little tip for the morbidly obese, and I don't mean to sound cruel, but once you get to 550 pounds, stay home and go for the record. I'll sponsor you. Write tatersalad.com on your gut, and I'll send peaches over there. Peaches? Why wouldn't I send pizzas? I'll send peaches in a salad. But where would be the comedy, Mr. White? Oh, so you're all hung up about that, huh? Okay, I'm just going to try to do that line right, just in case we decide to do it that way. I'll send pizzas over there. Oh, that is funny. He said pizzas. Oh, Mr. White, boy, he's rich tonight. I get to Atlanta, and I check into the Ritz Carlton hotel, and the next morning I go to take a shower, and there's no hot water. And I call the front desk and I tell the girl at the front desk, I said, there's no hot water. And the girl at the front desk said, sometimes there's no hot water. Didn't I just tell you that? I said, I've stayed in $20 a night motels. The water was so hot you could cook your nuts with it. Well, every once in a while, everybody will wake up at the same time, and they all take a shower at the same time, and we just run smack out of hot water. You guys didn't think about that. They thought about it at the Motel 6. But that whole concept of people wake up in the morning with shit to do got right by the Ritz Carlton Hotel. So I take a nice cold shower. Then I got to go meet with these lawyers. Now I hate lawyers. I just can't stand them, and I hate them worse than you do, no matter how much. Have you ever seen a video of that guy shooting his lawyer, and his lawyer's trying to hide behind that little tree, and he just keeps shooting? That's the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen in my goddamn life. I've got that on my video iPod, and if I just need a chuckle sometime during the day, I just hit the play button. Play, pow, 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 ha, 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 ha. Play, pow, 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 ha, 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 ha. Play, pow. I do that till I come. Then I got to go to the dentist. You see how my day's shaping up. Cold shower, lawyers, dentist. The trifecta of fucked up day. And I couldn't eat because of what I had to do there. So now it's 2:30 in the afternoon. Before I finish this story, will admit that I'm in a foul mood. My mouth is starting to hurt, and I haven't eaten all day. And I'm going to go eat lunch at this place called the Clubhouse. It's at the Atlantic Square Mall in Buckhead. And I used to eat there all the time. I live in both cities, and I pull up. Now, all this out here used to be just regular parking, but now the whole thing is valet parking. So you can't just park your car and go get some food. You have to wait for this little prick in a little red truck to wake up. But he isn't going to wake up because he's got on headphones and mirrored sunglasses, and he's looking the other direction, watching these two girls walk down Peachtree Boulevard. And I can tell by the whole scenario that they're not going to be out of his line of sight for 20 minutes. There's nothing going to get in the way. So I'm like, fuck, do your job. And I decided, well, I'll just park the car myself. And the only space I saw was right next to his truck. And I'm going to park the car myself. And then once he sees I'm going to park the car myself, he jumps out of his truck and he gets militant. And he jumps in front of my Range Rover and he puts his hands on the hood. And he goes, nobody parks their own car in this parking lot. I park the cars in this parking lot. Well, I rolled down my window and very politely said, get out of my fucking way. He goes, nobody talks to me like that. You can't park your car in this parking lot. And I said, fuck you. He goes, I'm calling the police. What's your first and last name? I said, it's fuck you. It's F-U-C-K, capital Y-O-U. Fuck you. That's my name. He gets on his radio and calls the Dalai Lama of all parking lot attendants, who comes squealing up in his little red truck. Apparently they give them to him. He hops out of the truck like he's going to do something. He immediately recognizes me, and you see this big, oh shit, wash over his face. He literally shoves this kid out of the way and starts apologizing. He said, Mr. White, I'm sorry. I said, listen, this kid's not doing his job. He's an insolent little piece of shit, and he needs to have his ass reamed. He goes, Mr. White, he's going to have his ass reamed by me and my boss and my boss's boss. And I was like, well, I had no idea the chain of command went that deep in the parking lot. He said, Mr. White, let us take your Range Rover. We'll wash it for you. We'll fill it up with gas. We'll park it, no charge. I said, don't park it here. I don't want this little prick to key it. He said, we'll park it on the other side. And I said, fine. So I go have a nice lunch and take more pain pills. Get in a little better mood. Just had to make